Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about bias tape. And bias tape is so essential when you're trying to get a nice finish and work around curves at bends when you're finishing blankets. And it's a wonderful tool to have in your sewing arsenal. But there are some limitations to the pre-made that you buy in the store. Usually it's color and patterns. It's really hard sometimes to match the exact tape that you want with your project, and it really can make it a little bit less than what you wanted when it's finished. I have some examples here of bias tape that I made that really works well with projects when you can make your own. It's really nice to use fabric that coordinates perfectly. You can use patterns. So all of this is just, it's so nice to make your own. There are some tools available. I'm going to show you how to use the bias making tool and how to cut the strips. And this is my absolute favorite way to use up fabric scraps. I'm going to show you with a larger piece of fabric how to cut them, but all these fabric scraps I'm going to turn into beautiful bias tape. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we have the bias making tool set. It comes with everything you see here, and I'm just going to focus on the actual bias making tools. They come color coded, and the sizes are on the back, and this is a size 6, which is 6 millimeters, and that corresponds to about a 1/4 inch. So if you want to make a 1/4 inch single fold tape, this is the one you would use. It also comes in 12, which is a 1/2 inch, 18, which is about 5/8 inch, and then the 25 millimeter, which is about an inch. And you can see that's the width here at the bottom at the base. So you can make single fold tape with this, which is this. It's been folded, the raw edges have been folded in once. This is single fold tape. And so that number, the 1/4 inch, will be single fold. If you want to make the double fold tape, you have to take, this will make 1/8 inch double fold. You'll have to half that number. So this would make 1/8, 1/4, about 3/4, and then a half. So there are some limitations to using this. It's for the double fold especially. It's limited by sizes. So you have to keep that in mind when you're using it. And then let me show you how to use the tape once you have the strips cut. And in another video, I'm showing you how to cut the actual bias tape. Okay, so here we have our cutting board, and this is the easiest way to do bias binding, is to have a large cutting board that has a 45-degree angle already marked, and it says it here, it's 60, 30, 45, and this is the 45. So the easiest way to do this is you take your selvage edge, because we know that's a straight edge, and you line it up on a straight edge here, okay? Just like this. And then you take the fabric and you fold it over. Edge to edge, straight edge to straight edge. Just like that. Okay, and then you line it up. And then what you do is I always make the first cut on this 45, just because I think it's easier. So I would go ahead and take my rotary cutter and cut a 45. Let me back this up just a little bit. And cut a 45-degree angle. And then once you make that cut, for 5/8 inch bias, you would cut a 2.5 inch strip. So 2.5 inch bias strips. If you're doing a 1/4 inch bias tape, then you cut 1 inch strips. So it's always 4 times the finish width. So we're going to be making 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. So I'm going to cut mine 2 inches. So now I'm just going to line the the ruler, and I'm just going to cut 2-inch strips across the 45-inch bias. Now that we have all of the strips cut, I'm going to show you how to piece them together. So the first thing that you want to do is start with the fabric right side up, actually. I have this turned right side up. The fabric should be right side up. Let me zoom in so you can see this. Now we have one of the strips with the right side facing up, and we're going to match them right sides together, and the strips should be placed at a 90-degree angle from each other. And then once you get them lined up, you need to mark the bias. Again, it's a 45-degree angle from corner to corner. This is going to be your stitching line. I'm going to show you another way now to do that. If it's hard to line them up, you can also square off these bias strips. So usually they have a diagonal, but you can go ahead and cut that off square, and you can do that with both pieces. And then once you have both pieces squared, you can just easily line them up. And this is an easier way. And you're still going to mark the corner. The stitching line is diagonal, corner to corner, because you want to have a bias seam. You don't want a straight seam because you lose the stretch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark corner to corner. And then that's where you're going to stitch the fabric together. And then once this is stitched and you open it up, you can see how you have a nice bias strip and you've kept the stretch in the seam. So here I have the finished seam, and then you're just going to trim it to about 1/4 of an inch, the seam. You don't want all that seam allowance. And then you're just going to press it open. I'm just going to finger press it open, but you're going to press it with a hot iron, and then you have a nice strip with lots and lots of stretch. So here I have the bias tape, and typically you would just fold it in half and then fold the edges in to make regular bias tape. But I'm going to show you how to use the tool. So make sure that you have your fabric cut at an angle. It's easier for insertion. And then you can use this awl tool, and there's a little slot that'll help you. You can pull the fabric through and get it all. And there's a reason why this tool is metal. It's because so you can iron as you go. And there's a little handle at the top that allows you to pull. And you can pull the tape through as you iron it in place. And you can see how easy this is to just really just pull and iron. And this is making single fold bias tape. And it's 1 inch single fold bias tape. So now that that's all done, we're going to fold it back again towards the middle, and this will make your double fold, your 1/2 inch double fold bias tape. And you can see how fast this process is. And then once I get everything folded and pressed really well to store it, I just go ahead and I want to wrap it in a circle so that it doesn't have creases. So I wrap it around my fingers and making sure that middle crease is nice and tight. And then I'll put a
some sort of band on it, and that's how I store it.